Welcome! This video covers the answer to question 6 of the quiz I posed some time ago. The links to that quiz and the answers to the first 5 questions are posted below. First, let us remind ourselves what the 6th question was. True or false? The leading skeptical climatologists say global warming is a hoax and humans could have no effect on the Earth's climate. We hear this trumpeted all over the media. It's a scam, global warming hoax, a lie. I'm sure you've heard it too, but let's hear it from some of the pundits themselves.
Global warming is a scam.
Man-made global warming is a hoax.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, global warming, that's what a farce that's turned out to be.
Because there is no climate crisis, there never was, and there never will be.
There is no causal link between CO2 and increased temperatures. Actually, there's an opposite.
The notion that man-made gases, anthropogenic gases, CO2, cause global warming is probably the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on the American people.
Well, with that many prominent people saying it's a hoax, it must be, surely. Here's a bonus question for you. What do all these pundits that tell you that global warming is a scientific hoax have in common? Time's up. No answer? The answer is that not one of them has any scientific qualifications whatsoever. Not a one. So where do they get their scientific information from to draw such weighty conclusions? They often like to quote leading climatologists who happen to be global warming skeptics. Here are the 4 that seem to be quoted most often. Roy Spencer, Richard Lindzen, John Christie, and Pat Michaels. It turns out that that's about it for skeptical climatologists in the US. Most of the others who like to pretend to be climate experts have much less right to call themselves climatologists than I do. But these 4 are the real McCoy. They know what they're talking about. However, do they actually say global warming is a hoax? Carbon dioxide is not causing the temperatures to rise, and humans have no role in the process? Let's hear what they have to say on the subject in their own words. First, from Pat Michaels.
But first of all, I want to tell you about this issue and how to lose any argument. Please don't go around, and you can hear this on talk radio all the time, saying that there is no such thing as global warming. Distinct warmings of the 20th century. The first one occurred here from 1910 to about 1945, and it's the same size as the one that began in 1975. The one beginning in 1975 does. How do we know that? Because it takes place primarily in the winter, primarily at night, and primarily in high-latitude land areas, particularly the northern hemisphere. The theory of greenhouse warming predicts that. It also predicts that the stratospheric temperature from 50,000 feet on up would drop. And it has been dropped.
Well, that was a bit of a surprise. Michael sounds like a mainstream anthropogenic global warming supporter. He even told this to a meeting of the Heritage Foundation and that they should get over it. Good for him. His main objection to global warming seems to be that whatever happens to the climate, it would not be as bad as some people say. Richard Lindzen has said similar things, but he also said this.
In my case, for instance, that most of the atmospheric scientists who I respect do endorse global warming. Greenhouse substances, they're mainly thin high clouds and water vapor, but they also include carbon dioxide, methane, freons, and other things, acts as a blanket. It inhibits the emission of infrared or heat radiation. We know that in the absence of feedbacks, in which these feedbacks say that water vapor and clouds act to amplify the effect of added CO2, in these things, if we increase temperature, that will lead to a certain increase in this heat radiation.
Lindzen's main beef with anthropogenic global warming is that we can't be sure how much of it is human-caused, and he worries about both the positive and negative feedbacks, which would lessen the effect of the additional greenhouse gases from those predicted by the models. That is quite a reasonable scientific issue to discuss, although he does admit to being in a tiny minority on this point. But remember, that does not make him necessarily wrong. John Christie again sounds mainstream.
I think everyone agrees that the world has warmed in the past 150 years,
but the question is why? And I think some of these popular surface data sets just really don't tell you the reason that that warming has occurred. Well, what we found is that the human activities that create this warming in many of these thermometers is due to things like cities being built and farms being established and forests being taken down. Now, these are truly human effects, but they really don't change the entire global climate too much. And for that, we look for things like satellite data, which show the warming is less than what is promoted in the media.
When testifying under oath in a court case, Christie seemed to become even more conventional. Here is the judge's summary of his testimony. Dr. Christie agrees with the IPCC's assessment that in the light of the new evidence and taking into account the remaining uncertainties, most of the observed warming over the last 50 years is likely to have been due to increasing greenhouse gas concentrations. Christie agrees that the increase in carbon dioxide is real and primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels, which changes the radiated balance of the atmosphere and has an impact on the planet's surface temperature towards a warming rate. Seems like when under oath, some skeptics tend to agree more with the scientific consensus, doesn't it? Roy Spencer's opinion is that the warming is real but due to natural causes.
Gore likes to call us global warming deniers. I don't know of anybody that denies global warming. That's part of the rhetoric of all of this. What we deny is that we have any handle at all on how much of that warming in the last 100 years, let's say, has been due to mankind versus nature.
Now, I should point out that these clips are heavily edited extracts from the formal lectures and interviews, but so are the ones you hear and see from the unqualified pundits. You can find these lectures and interviews here on YouTube, and should listen to them in full if you want to understand their main objection to anthropogenic global warming. To summarise then, the 4 top global warming skeptics all agree that the Earth is warming, most agree that carbon dioxide plays an important role, and some even acknowledge that there is a human contribution. But we can safely say that the answer to question 6 is false, again. Anyone noticing a pattern here? Keep safe, bye for now.